You guys remember that guy from Zodiac that dumped a load on Engage? Yeah, I found him. Come on. Yo, what's up, guys? The Worst Duelist here. I'm joined today by a very special guest indeed. We have the GOAT himself, Mr. Nicholas Ortiz. He actually ended up taking first at the PPG regional that was this past weekend. Technically, the guy split in top four, but he was first after standing undefeated all the way up, all 9 rounds. So I got him here to do the profile. Granted, it's not like super crazy. It is just a striker list, but he is very proficient with the deck. So I'm gonna let him take it away, and then I'll just kind of ask questions where needed.
Yep. So, as the worst duelist said, I went undefeated in 9 rounds that we played. 7 rounds of Swiss. Then we played out top 16 and top 8. And then by the time we got to top 4, the venue was close to closing and everyone was tired. So we just decided to split that. So I played striker. The deck I'm most comfortable with. I've played this deck for like 3 years, so I have pretty much all the ins and outs of it. So yeah, we can go ahead and start with the profile. So we have 3 Ray and 2 Rose. 3 Ray self-explanatory. 2 Rose has needed because you have about 8 starters in your deck, not counting like Area Zero multi-role stuff, and you really want to get like high up to like 11 or 13, but this deck doesn't really have access to that many because Engage is only at 1 now. So you basically have the 2 Rows to facilitate like the 2 other engages that would have been legal. And this has cool like practical uses to it. It makes things like Afterburner in the late game, an extender by putting the Rose back onto the field. You can chain block Kagari with this, so this kind of acts as an Eagle Booster sometimes. So your opponent can't like Apollosa or Ghost Spell your Kagari. So and it also lets you link Climb into like Zeke, which forces a bunch of activations
Yeah,
on
that's
your
pretty
opponent's
good.
field.
You never
Yeah,
wanted for a third, right?
no, no. So I play Pot of Desires. So 2 is good because you're gonna banish 1 usually. So having access to the second one is still fine. And 3 at that point you're getting kind of clunky because this is a blind second deck. And when you're on your 6th card, you're gonna be pretty likely to see multiple copies of Ray. It's like opening multiple Alistairs. It's not very good.
Yeah,
So
pretty bad, unfortunate.
yeah. 2 is the sweet spot for Rose, I think, in this deck. And then the last sort of like monster is Donruss with Pankratops. It's only a one of, so you don't want to rely on it too much. But when you see it, it's really good.
Yeah, it's a
It
two for
baits like
one.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It baits
crazy.
2 interruptions on its own. Yeah, 2600 attack. There are some niche applications where you just don't open array, and then Pankratops can usually just get the job done on its own because it's huge. So that's it for like the monsters I normal summon. So for hand traps, it's 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 3 Nib, 3 Imperm, and then 1 Bell. Because it's blind second, you want to stop your opponent as best as you possibly can. And with 13 hand traps, you have about like a 55% chance to open 2, which you really only need to open 2 against Drytron. Pretty much every other matchup you can open 1. And you have about like an 85% chance to open 1 hand trap if you're playing 13. So I felt that these were the best 4 hand traps to play. Veiler and Imperm are really good against Drytron. Ash is good against things like Invoked and pretty much everything. And then Nib is good against everything that's not the mirror, but um, as long as you're playing the mirror correctly, the -1 you're essentially getting for this always being in your hand isn't too big of a deal. And the 1 Bell just did with the 13th because I think
Yeah,
it's the
the
fifth best hand
cheeky
trap.
bell, the sneaky
Yeah,
little girl.
well, I think Crow and Meister have like better targeted matchups. Bell is just like the best one to have in your
Yeah,
main deck because it's the
absolutely.
most generically good and it's everything.
It
So
negates like random shit. Also, I feel like Nib
yeah.
is okay at best in the mirror because if they do try to go for the push, you may
hmm
be able to get them in that threshold. But yeah, Nib, I'm so glad I dodged that when we played. Good God.
Yeah. Nib comes up in the mirror like maybe 1 in every 5
Yeah,
games.
very niche
So
indeed.
yeah. It's not 0% chance, but it's still best to take it out after the
Yeah, absolutely,
post work.
100%.
So there was 16 monsters and then 3 traps. So we're on the striker spells. So we have 1 engage. Thankfully now at 1. Going from 0 to 1 helps the deck ton. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you actually sit down and play with the deck, the 1 engage helps. 1 multi-roll. So this card previously wasn't super good because of the engage ban, and multi-rolls are only really as good as long as engaged in the game. So you don't really want to dump this with Hayate and add it with Kagari. You don't really want to search it off Shizuku, but you love to search this off Engage. So now that this is legal, this becomes so much better, and the grind game becomes a lot better.
Yeah, dude, that card just gives you so much free advantage. It's insane.
Yeah, making your anchor, being able to use twice, your cannons twice, your afterburners twice, even area zero is just like a random free card. Can come up a lot of the times.
The classic roll for 4.
Yeah, the classic roll for 4 is insane. Doesn't happen as much anymore, but roll for 2 against this kind of like slower meta is usually enough to just beat the game.
Anchor Shark, thanks.
Yeah, Anchor Shark, it beats everything. And then just the one Hornet Drones to play as like the last array striker cards. And then for other spells, we're playing 2 Area Zero and 2 Afterburner. So Area Zero is a lot better in multiples now, not just one, because you're essentially playing double the amount of multi-rolls now. So you're going from 1 to 2 roll because you can search it off Engage. So being able to trigger this Area Zero to summon a striker from the deck is a lot more consistent. And 2 Afterburner I am playing because I think it is the best striker card to play over something like Jamming Waves and Eagle Booster. And I play 2 because when I played 1 with Desires, if I banished the 1 copy, it wasn't like end all be all, but it hurt enough to the point where I would much rather prefer the other one still in the deck. So I decided to put 2 in there.
Yeah, you just want the utility. The card's nuts, dude.
Yeah, you want the utility. It's a +1 on activation. Every Kagari, it's basically like a 4 for 0. Like,
yikes.
So against every like control that you just win if that resolves.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the multi-roll effect up to prevent your opponent from responding, you're just gonna win. And then 3 Anchor, and then 3 Cannon. Anchor self-explanatory, and then 3 Cannon because everything is pretty graveyard reliant right now. The only thing that's not super graveyard reliant that this deck doesn't hurt a ton is something like Tri-Brigade, but even then, like this deck beats that deck anyway. And the 3rd Cannon because when I played 2 with Desires, if I banished 1, I would just basically only have 1 left the rest of the game to cycle with multi-rolls, and I would have to like add a short cannon off Kagari, which isn't something I want to do. So the 3rd one came in and clutched like that. And if they make me go first, you know, you can't consistently get back row disruption as you could with 3 Engage. So just being able to hard draw a cannon as potential disruption on your opponent's turn is really good. So the 3rd one was nice.
Yeah, very good for pushing as well because you can take their guy and whatever.
Oh yeah, then you can just have a combo. So there's about 18 striker cards in the main deck. On for regular cards, 3 Potted Desires. Yeah, this card is ridiculous. This card's product greed.
It's insane, dude. Fuck
yeah,
me.
everyone. Yeah, people have been talking about like don't play this because you're gonna banish your 1 Engage. But you know, if you have Ray, you can dump the Engage from your deck anyway, so you can't banish it off Desires. And if you can't do that, that means you don't have Ray. So if I drew Ray off Desires, I don't care if I banish Engage because then I can finally start playing.
Yeah, you're still winning.
And if you have multiples, like that's what Area Zero is for. You can always send it to the 2nd Desire Zero with Area Zero. It's not like it's completely dead in your hand. So it's good enough to where like I think you just have to play this card.
I don't understand the prosperity logic. I just really don't get that because Engage says draw 1 card. So like, what is the idea behind that? I just don't understand it. So
it's because prosperity, you technically see 1 more card. So you're more likely to see Ray if you prosperity versus you Desires. But after testing, even banishing 3 cards from your extra deck with this deck can be very difficult because it hurts your grind game a lot. You essentially can't access code combo if you prosperity once, versus like Desires where, yeah, sure, you can banish a couple striker cards, but as long as you're not banishing like 3 of a copy of a card, you should be fine. So I like this more than prosperity.
Yeah, for sure. It's also part of the appeal of the deck to be able to just like keep playing continuously, always get the Kagari, and you know always get into Shizu and have the utility available. So it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, when you're having to banish things like the 3rd Hayate, when you have to banish things like I don't know, like Celine or things like the 15th extra deck card, it's not good. On to the last one-ofs here. So we have Upstart and Rhoda, which I think are self-explanatory. So 1 Terraforming with the 1 Mine. I feel like this deck only really needs to play 3 Mine if that's your only win con. And with Engage at 1, it's not really the case anymore. So playing it as 1 is like good utility with the Terraforming, I felt was really good. You know, people play back removal a lot now, so you can't really just sit on Mine for too long because they're going to out it at some point. So just having it at 1 can be very beneficial to bait negates. And then
it's part
the
of
1
the
mind
reason,
control.
The
Oh
mine
yeah,
is
go
part
ahead.
of the reason that you sealed the deal against me game one, because my hand was subpar, so I had to end on
Hmm.
Sphere's Hot Red. So like I can't let the terraforming resolve, and then you're just free to play the game. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
insane. Just the
yeah, it's just the
it's
threat of
like
mine.
a deterrent. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
yeah, the threat of mine is just super powerful.
Yeah,
And to close off the deck is the one mind control over something like talents, because starting your turn off by targeting an Appaloosa without having to rely on your opponent activating a monster effect, I found to be very good. And talents isn't very good in the mirror, where this is in the mirror. If your opponent's smart, they're just not going to activate any monster effects in the main phase, which makes talents kind of dead there. Whereas the one mind control has good applications there. And it's just good. So that was
yeah,
the
for sure.
40th card in
Insane
the
in the
main.
mirror. Yeah, thanks for that.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, lick it off. You don't get Ray, by the way. Enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. Don't get Ray. I start playing now.
Yeah,
It's
that's
ridiculous. So on to the extra deck. It's the 11 striker links. Yeah, this this is what gets you the most advantage here. I guess the only one to talk about, I guess, is Zeke because it's the newest. This helps you, I mean, bait even more negates now. It gets rid of a threat immediately on the field until the next end phase. In the mirror match, it's insane because if you banish one of their link monsters, it comes back to their field on their end phase and in the main monster zone. So their cannons and their anchors are just get turned off. Um, and then against some like a big combo deck, being able to like summon a Ray and then like make a Gagari and they're forced to negate it. And you can make a Zeke and they have to negate that too. And using like at that point, your opponent lost 2 negates on like some pretty marginal cards. And plus, you're able to finally link off opponent's monsters without having to use like air zero multi-roll, which is good. So there's 11 there. And then for the playing a Hout combo, the next 3. Playing Valor, so this facilitates the spellcaster target link into this. This card can pop like 5 cards.
Yeah, it's
and
insane.
1500
This
damage.
deck, bro. It's insane.
Yeah, being able, you're playing like 4 different attributes for Striker, and then Celine's a light, 4 to 5 easily. And then you can normally summon a Ray with this too, so that's 1600 damage. And at that point, you just need like an attack with a high attack previously in the turn to just kill your opponent. So this lets you kill a lot easier than you previously would. And the last card is Ningirsu. Just because I'm not playing droplets or talents, so I don't have a reliable Dragoon out. So if my opponent plays that card, I didn't want to become completely unprepared for that. I wanted some form of out in my deck, and Ningirsu is the best one for that. So I decided to play him just in case. I want to convert what would have been a loss into a win. So Ningirsu is the best card I felt for that, over something like Nightmare Phoenix or Gita.
Yeah, it's pretty greedy, so yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then for the extra deck or side deck, it's 3 Cycle Reader against Drytron. You can't really play Droll because if your opponent just passes, you're right back where you started. Your opponent doesn't really have a board, so you can't really kill them and take their things. And then those come around in their next turn and kill you then. So Cycle Reader just eliminates the problem immediately. It gets resolving a Cycle Reader against Drytron is almost always game. So having 3 in there is really good. And then for the side, 3 Shared Ride, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, and 3 Twin Twister for spells. So Shared Ride is when everyone makes you go first. It's literally Max C against some decks. I sided in against the Mirror, Salamangreat, Dragon Link, Drytron. There's so many different decks you can search multiple times a turn. And if I'm playing 13 hand traps in my deck, if I'm drawing 4 cards off this, I'm going to draw multiple hand traps. And if they don't, that means they just pass and this replaced itself. So it's not something like Droll where you just neg 1 over time. This card actually sees tangible value.
Yeah, that card's fucking nuts, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, and it's a spell, and it's a quick play.
Facts.
So if I don't want to lose like Twin Twister or like back removal.
You were like anyway.
Yeah, so if you just chain this, you're getting value that way, and it's like you're countering your opponent's side essentially.
Yes, indeed.
And then 3 Cosmic, 3 Twin. I felt people were going to side anti-spell order against me, so something like Lightning Storm or Feather Duster loses to those cards. So I wanted to play cards that beat those. And the decks that side anti-spell and order against me, I should beat anyway. My deck just naturally beats, so I don't want them to have some win button that lets them win a game they should otherwise not.
Yeah.
So I felt these 6 were the best to play on the side.
Yeah, Twins has just been insane recently. Like, I sold my Storm to put Twins in my side instead. It was definitely the decision.
Yeah, and if you multi-roll, target one of your cards and you twin, that you can't chain anything at that point, so they have to use everything at resolution, or they're just going to eat the Twin Twister.
For sure.
And the last card is 3 Different Dimension Ground. Also for my opponent makes you go first. This card is just D-Barrier against a lot of different matchups, things like Prank Kids, Drytron, Salamangreat. You know, this is the only. I'll usually just set this if I open it, so I don't lose to things like Duster or Twin. And if my opponent responds, tries to remove it with back row, I can just flip this.
Yep.
So I get value that way, and then my opponent's just also locked down for a turn, so they'll either pretty much have to pass or end on a really subpar board. And at that point, I'm able to just kill my opponent that way.
Indeed, yeah. That's just like, what do? They just end against that card, just fucking pass turn. All right,
Yep.
well, that seems to be it, man. It seems like the deck is pretty much solved in your eyes. I mean, I'm not even too sure what you could change, but I know you're trying to keep stuff under wraps anyway because you do have the YCS coming up as well.
Yep,
That
yep.
you will be playing in. You know, hopefully you can bring it home for that as well. I'm not really too sure what the roster's looking like, but I imagine there's some promising duelists in there. But yeah, Ortiz, bro, thanks, dude. I mean, fuck you for savaging me, but thanks for coming on the channel and let me get the profile, the 9-0 striker profile. You got any shout-outs?
Yeah, quick shout outs to Midwest Gaming, my sponsor. They're the ones who've been helping me with playtesting. They'll help me out with cards if I ever need it for the upcoming YCS and future events. They've been really nice to me ever since I joined them, so big shout out to them.
And that's about it?
Yep.
All right, dude. I will see you, and don't forget, like, comment, sub. Put my links to my socials down below. You got anything you want to plug? I don't know if you're on any platforms while we are here.
Nah, not really.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.